Hi, okay, so we're in After Effects and I want to have a look at the camera this time as an object that you can create and then manipulate within the software. Okay, in order to demonstrate this, I haven't got a piece of footage I'm going to work on. I'm going to just create some stuff directly in After Effects. So I'm going to press the new comp button just here, which looks like that little film strip, or you can go composition, new composition, whichever you find easier. Either one will open up this dialog box. So you can see by default it's popped up, and we'll have a look at the default settings. Sorry, first thing I'll do is give this comp a name, so I'll call it camera demo. Preset is HDTV, which is 1920 by 1080 and running at 25 frames per second. I can go in and change any of these properties myself. Okay, just type it in there, and you can see lock aspect ratio is ticked, so it will automatically, if I change one of these, it will adjust the other one to keep it at a 16:9 aspect ratio widescreen. If you don't want that, you can uncheck it, generate something else yourself. If you think about it, you might be designing something that's going to run in an Android device or something like that, so it has a very specific resolution perhaps, so there could be all kinds of reasons why you might want to go with something very specific here in regards to height and width. However, if you don't, you'll find a bunch of presets are already available anyway. So we're going to jump down to the HDTV, and I'll change it to HDTV 1080 24 instead, okay, which is 1920 by 1080, but running at 24 frames per second. I could have just typed in 24 in there. That's the only change that we've made, but I just thought I'd show you that those are available. We've also got the duration and where the time code starts from, so you might not want the time code to start from 0. The duration, I'll set it about 5 seconds. I don't really need much. Okay, and click OK, and it should then automatically generate as a new comp. Oops, set that to one view. There we go. So I've got my window. And yeah, I'm ready to go. So in order to create before I create a camera, I need an object for it to follow around. So I'm going to click the text tool, and I'm just going to type something out here. Okay, there we go. So just type some text. So I've got something for the camera to see. Now if I was to create a camera right now, I'd get a warning box say, camera, while it sees 2D objects, doesn't really have the ability to move around them or anything like that. It just keeps them in the background. So it would probably give me a warning saying, oh, you know, this is a you need 3D objects in order to really use the camera. So I won't apply the camera just yet. I'm going to turn this into a 3D object first, or a 3D layer actually is what we say, because this is individual layers here. So I'm going to turn this into a 3D layer by clicking on the 3D layer button. You'll see that cube there is a 3D layer, and you'll get one for each individual layer. So if I duplicate that, you'll notice I've got the switches for every single layer. So I can turn it on for one, so that becomes a 3D layer, but the one above it doesn't. So you have to switch it on in order to make it so. So I'll get rid of that additional layer. Just wanted to point that out. And you'll find that if you click on position, for example, you have the ability to move it up and down or left and right. Okay, but that's it. Turn on the 3D layer options, and you can also pull it back or bring it forward as well. Okay, so it gives us that extra option there. If we turn that off again, go back to rotation, you'll find again you've only really got one property here, which allows you to rotate your text around like that based on its anchor point, which is in the left hand corner at the moment. And that's it. Doesn't do anything else. You'll notice there's another number next to it. That's just to do with the amount of rotations you want. So for example, if I'm animating something, keyframes on, there's my keyframe at the beginning. By the time it gets to the end, I want it to rotate 10 times. I can just type in 10 there rather than having to do anything else. If I play that, you'll notice, there you go, and it rotates around 10 times. Okay, don't want it to rotate around that way. That's okay. Let's go back to the last one. -10, and it will rotate around the other way instead. Okay, so like I said, it's kind of just allows you to type in the number of rotations rather than whereas here is the sort of amount in a whole rotation. Okay, however, we will go back to the beginning and turn that off. I was just sort of pointing that out, why there's two numbers there. So again, turn that on, and then we have the ability to move or rotate, sorry, the layer in 3 dimensions. Okay, so we still got original rotation there, but we've got 2 additional ones. Okay, and what I like about using 3D layers is it means that if you're putting text into a video or something like that, it doesn't have to be, although it's still a flat object, it doesn't really have any depth to it. you can still start to align it in 3D space, so you can start to think about the objects in the frame and turn your text in order to sort of align it better with, say, things like walls or anything else. So yeah, I think just using it as a 3D layer just helps with the composite. You're not just sticking flat text directly onto the frame, but you're moving it or manipulating it to fit better. So let's have a look at what we can now do with a camera. So we can go layer, new. We've got a few options here, a few things we can add. One of those, or the one we're going to look at now, is the camera. So we say layer, new camera. Here's our camera. We can change its name. You can even change the type of lens that it comes with. The type of lens will change the perspective of objects in the frame, how close or far they can seem. It's not the lens that's actually doing it, it's the camera's position, but obviously a wider lens means you can get closer to objects. What I'll do is I'll leave it at 50mm, so I'll actually call the camera 50mm. Okay, you see it's a 2-node camera, so it's going to have a actual camera position, and it will have a sort of point of interest, a thing that it looks for as well. So you can manipulate both of those. And apart from that, we want to make sure we've got enable depth of field switched on. Okay, it doesn't really matter if you forget about any of those or wanted to change something here and you didn't, because once you click OK and that camera then appears, you'll find that you can open up the camera properties. There you are, camera options, and we've got all the other stuff that we were looking at before. So depth of field, there's the enable button anyway, so you can still switch it on or off here. What I normally do is when I add a camera is I switch from one view to 2 views instead. Obviously that says 2 views horizontal. You could have 2 views vertical if that helps in regards to your workflow. You can even have 4. So you can not only see the camera from the top, but you can see it from like the side and things like that, or even behind and in front. I find generally for just camera, obviously 2 is fine. Here I haven't got as much screen space. If I did, I'd probably have 4, but I find I'm usually running out of space with After Effects, and I just don't have enough screen space for all of this stuff. So yeah, we can see our camera there. So we're just going to have a quick look at the camera. I'm not going to do too much in regards to animating or moving the camera here. I mean, I will show you how that happens, but really you want to have a bit of a play and a practice with it yourself. There we go. So I'm just trying to zoom out a bit. So like I said, there's our camera. And while we can adjust things like the aperture, and as we start to open that up, hopefully what we should find is, although it's taking quite a while, and that's more to do with the camera's position, maybe I should pull the camera back. So you can see we can actually move in, and the text goes into focus and then back out again. Okay, and that was just by opening the aperture up more. I guess it kind of gives it a bit of a lost look, doesn't it? It starts off like, well, what does that say? Oh, it says hello, and then we go out of focus again. Yeah, actually it really does remind me of the start of Lost. Obviously, I think it was 3D text there, but you can change that. Notice as well though, when it does go out of focus, oops, moving it the wrong way, when it does go out of focus, you can kind of see the shapes. It sort of starts to become, keep in mind that generally when objects do go out of focus, they sort of take on, especially the brighter parts of an image, they'll take on the shape of the iris itself. So you can see there's an iris shape option here. At the moment it says fast rectangle, but you've got basically triangle 3 sides, square 4, then you got pentagon, hexagon, and it sort of just keeps moving up. Then so you got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and by doing that you start to change the way the object looks as well when it goes out of focus. I would normally go with as many as I possibly can, actually, and give it more realistic lens look. But yeah, you can change that property as well there. And apart from that, what I'd say is what you can do with a camera in regards to animating it, because yeah, it's good to sort of play around and change these things, but maybe we want to actually animate them. Obviously everything has a stopwatch icon, so even the focus, you can change the focus over time. It doesn't have to be something you only set up at the beginning, so it's quite nice. We can play with this just like a real camera, like we would on a shoot. And what I wanted to look at quickly is movement, because actually these are the camera options. I'm going to close them up for a second. There's also transform properties. So, you know, general properties that objects have about rotation and movement. So yeah, actually we never really look at rotation, but in fact, wrong one. Let's try another one. That one's rotating it up and down. So let's see this one. There we go. So we can even rotate the camera around that way and things like that. And again, it doesn't seem like the camera is rotating. It seems like the object is. And that could be a quick way to say rotate multiple objects in a scene. Just rotate the camera instead. So yeah, what I wanted to quickly look at before we finish up with this one is the actual camera movement. So like I said, because this has 2 points, it has what's known as a point of interest, and so I'll just point that up. So wherever that point of interest goes, that's where the camera is looking, and you'll notice as I move this, you can see the point of interest properties are moving there. Only these two were because I was moving it in and out and left and right, but that one will be about up and down. So we can adjust the point of interest, and I'm going to see if I can just zoom out a little bit more. Okay, and we can then change the position of the camera body itself. So if I do that, notice this time it's just the camera that is moving. So the position relates to the camera body, point of interest relates to what the camera is actually looking at. Or you can see sometimes actually, if I do this, we can move both together. And now notice that not only is the camera moving, but the point of interest is as well. And if you look at the numbers down here, you'll see that actually, yeah, they're all sort of adjusting together. Okay, there we go. So, like I said, so you've got 3 ways to move the camera. And just to sort of demonstrate what you can do with, say, again, to animate it, keyframes on, just move your playhead and change the property somewhere else, move the camera somewhere else, and you can do that. So just to finish off with, and to demonstrate that, I quickly created an example where I just duplicated my name a few times, and you can see here's the actual positions of them. And I tried to put them further apart, and that was more to do with just the focus. I wanted them to be slightly out of focus and then come into focus as well for a little bit. So I found that actually by just pushing them apart, I kind of got the look I was after. Again, it's up to you to decide where you want things to be placed. And apart from that, yeah, I put on some motion blur, and really all I've done is actually, if you look at this scene, there's our camera right there. I just animated the camera, so as it plays you can see the camera is just moving straight down a line. Point of interest doesn't move at all, so I only move the camera and the camera just moves straight through, nothing more than that. Okay, so if we click on that, here we go, it doesn't go that fast obviously, there we go. Alright, so you can see hopefully the text does come slightly into focus and then out. I also put on some easing, so the camera just eases in and out a bit. Obviously there's a lot more you could do with that. That was just to quickly show you how you can use just camera movement and a bit of shallow depth of field to create a nice look. But it doesn't have to be text, it could be objects, so you could be moving through a scene. Because the depth of field is so shallow, it kind of reminds me of when they do these visual effects where you're kind of looking at an object really close up. I mean, like on the sort of the molecular scale or something, and you're just seeing little particles. And again, they always use like sort of very shallow depth of field to kind of give you this feeling of moving across some really small items. So you could actually create some other kind of scene that the camera is actually moving through as well. Again, have a play, see what the camera can do. Okay.